Hello everyone. Here I'll be explaining one of the types of, or one application of the logic gates. In this case, I have an AND gate. The way I set this up, when we look at this diagram, we have a 5-volt battery. The current is flowing through this 1 kilo ohm resistor. Now here I have two transistors. The transistors, they have three different components. Right here, the C, which stands for collector, the B for base, the E for emitter. Same thing for this transistor. Now here, I also have an LED bulb, which should be lit. That is if my AND gate is set up properly. Now, going back to the current flow, it is flowing through this 1 kilo ohm resistor. Now, if this transistor is switched off, then here in this collector, we would have just the current flow collecting. But when this transistor is turned on, now the current flow will be running through the base of the resistor and out through the emitter. Same thing for this transistor. If this is switched off, then the current will just be collecting here. But when we have this transistor on, then the current flowing through this transistor will also go through this jumper cable, flowing through the base of the transistor and out through the emitter. Now on the other side of the emitter, we have an LED bulb. So all the current flow will run through the transistors which are on and eventually through this LED bulb, and then completing the circuit to the ground. So now let's see how we can set up our circuit diagram so that the LED bulb will be lit. Here I have a breadboard. Now, since I'm working with only one hand, I apologize. Beforehand, I have the transistors aligned. I have the resistor. I also have the LED bulb. I have my power source. The 9-volt battery is connected to my power source. Now let me explain how this works since I set it up beforehand. So making sure that my 9-volt battery is clipped on and connected to my, let's call this the controller board. Now on this controller board, I have two different jumper cables. This red one, you can see it is connected to the 5-volt slot, and then it is running through the positive line on my breadboard. How about this yellow one? Well, this yellow one I have connected to the ground right over here. Now the ground, the jumper cable, is connected to my ground. So all of this line right here is my ground. Now let's look at the positive line. I have my resistor connected at one end, my 1 kilo ohm, resistor connected on one end. And then on the other, I have connected onto this the breadboard aligned with one of the components of my transistor. Now this component needs to be, that's right, the collector. Now the collector will be receiving all the current flow. It will be receiving the current flow, or it will be collecting the current flow if it is off. Now, as I explained earlier, the only way that the current flow will run through the transistor is if the transistor is activated or turned on. Now, the second transistor here is aligned with this transistor, the first one. And then on the component of this transistor, which is, the emitter, I have aligned with the long leg of the LED bulb. Now, the shorter leg will be connected to my ground, and then aligned with, that's right, the ground cable, the jumper cable that eventually runs back over here to my controller board. So now, let's see how we can power the LED bulb, setting up the AND gate. So please forgive me, I'm going to be working with one hand. First, let me use one of these jumper cables to connect one base. One end, which is the emitter of the transistor, one end of the jumper cable connected to the collector of the other transistor. Now, to activate the transistors, what I need to do is I need to align the next jumper cable with the resistor as well as with the collector. So I will one end have that aligned with the resistor and the collector, and on the other end I need to connect it to the base of the same transistor. Okay. Here we are. One end aligned with the resistor as well as the, I'm not sure if you can see it, but that is the collector component of the transistor. And on the other end of this jumper cable, we have it connected to the base of the first transistor. Now, the LED bulb is still not lit. That is because I need to complete the AND gate. Now let me connect the last jumper cable. The last jumper cable will be one end aligned with the collector component of the transistor, and the other end of the jumper cable will be connected to the base. And now my LED bulb's lit. So this is the logic behind the AND gate. Now moving on to the next logic component or the next logic application in the next video. Thank you so much.